we're going to talk about mounts. Now, important entries to mount. Okay? Let's bypass the guard for today. That'll be for next class. Let's talk about mount. Generally, when you enter mount, it's because you pass the guard and you're coming from side control, or you're passing the guards through the middle. You know, and you've got an opportunity to cross face and step your leg up and okay. So here's the first example to give you an idea of what control really is. I don't know if everybody's seen me do this, but I've done it enough. Gustavo, please do a punch for me. I'm giving him about 5 pounds of pressure at his stomach, like sit your head all the way up. No problem, right? We give him about 5 pounds of pressure on his chest. Gustavo will do the same sit-up. A little harder. I'm going to go on Gustavo's neck. Gustavo will do the sit-up. A little harder. Gustavo's forehead, about 5 pounds of sit-up. Pretty impossible. So that tells us something. That the higher we go, the more control we're going to have. But if Gustavo's on the side, and I said, Gustavo, get up. Oh, look difference. Look at his elbow. Gustavo, get up. You can put his elbow in the ground, push your elbow, put your hand on the mat, put your hand here, push it up your chin. Oh, so different. So should my guy be on his side? Hell no. I want my opponent flat, 100%. And whether I'm in a low mount or a high mount position, to save myself the time of getting thrown in half guard or dealing with his arms, I want his arms separated from his body. So as soon as I pass the guard and I get into my side control, here's what my principles tell me to do. 1, I hope you remember it. If not, we'll post it. My knees or my hips, my thighs, everything is going to constantly chase his hips. It's going to stay glued to him. As Gustavo starts to move, see how my hand is here to help me to lock him out? He starts to move, this is going to stay. If he climbs, go ahead, climb. This is going to stay. This is going to stay. Number 2, I want 4 points of base. I don't want, or 3, it's okay. 4 better, 5 is great. Number 3, I want my head over his head. So side control is not this. Side control is this. It's my head over his head, my chest over his chest. You'll see why, okay? If I'm in a position where he's keeping me back and I can't get my head over his head, I just bring his head to my head. That's simple, okay? Before I mount, if I don't have his arms under control, watch what happens if I start to try to mount. His arm's gonna push my leg, it's gonna be a big fight, he's gonna get his knees in, he's gonna get his half guard, he's gonna sweep me. Use your arms to protect yourself. Yeah, we're gonna go into all this. Do you really wanna deal with this? We could, we could keep on fighting and deal with this and flatten back out and start trying to reset ourselves, get our head back over his head. Fight back to our position 1, great. But that's energy wasted. But I should know right away, and he has to know something right away too, but we're gonna talk about top first, is I want his arms separated. Before I do anything, I want his arms separated. I don't wanna deal with this. So if he's got his arms like this, in the defensive posture, there's always an elbow up. Always. Should. Slide, underhook, okay? Slide and underhook. Head over my head, chest over his chest. Look at my knee chasing his butt. I'm not gripping gi. I'm not pulling myself onto him. I'm just using gravity and I'm keeping myself over him. If I want to feel worse, I just lift my knees up a little bit off the ground. Here, I'm doing much better for myself. But this arm is still not done. I still feel this. This arm, I can walk my fingers. I can move forward. Now his arm is separate. We're good. Once I get to the point where I can grab his head, watch. I grab his head. You grab his head here, you can grab his head here. That's, can you get out of there, Gustavo? Now, when I switch my base, Gustavo has only his hand free, what do you think he's going to do with it? He's going to try to push me? Of course, he's going to try to push me away, my hip or whatever. I'm not gonna fight his strength. I got knees that are stronger than his arms. So watch me kick my knee without pushing his hand or anything or pulling it. You don't gotta do any of this. Keep your hands free for point of base. As soon as he's pushing, my knee's gonna kick. Now I'm gonna scoop both his arms. Now where we are. Now my hands can grab, look, what does it look like? Word and rhyme. Elbows wide, palm over palm. Take your elbows out. My head over his head. Can you take your elbows out? No way. Now mounting, I should not be scared to mount. What is there to be afraid of? He's flat. Can I get swept? No way. Should I mount super quickly? No. Definitely not. I should still mount slow. So before I mount, I'm going to make sure my knee, 4 points of base, is higher than his hip line. Second, my knee is going to come up as high as it needs to go, because if he's defending with his leg, I want it as high as it needs to go to push and stretch his legs down. Okay? Look at my back. It's not going up. It's curving with his body. You see my back curving down? Because I want forward pressure, pinning him. If I look up, this gives him the space to start to wiggle. So I move forward and this moves down. So my back is making kind of like an upside down smile. Now this pushing, you can use this one if you feel old enough. This pushing, never put your feet in a place where he can throw his leg, throw it over, like weight over my leg. Yeah, sucks. And he starts extending that leg and start moving to that side, and he gets his hip off to the side. Now I'm hands are free, I lose them up. So my feet are gonna always be higher or glued to his hip line. And I want my hip, I don't care about connecting to him like this. That's not helping me at all. I want a wide base, okay? I want my feet glued to his hips and I want wide base. So now, as Gustavo starts trying to escape, he can't put his foot over my feet. He has no control. And even in a low mount, which this is still considered a low mount, just because I bring my knees wide, I'm safe. Instead of dealing with a strong person, what I want you could, if you're big and the person's a little smaller than you, this is probably okay. This is okay, especially if you're, yep. And then when I feel his hip come up, we can do all this.
Yeah.
This is definitely stuff you can practice.
Yeah.
But if we want to avoid all that, here we go, right here, nice and wide. Gustavo, go ahead now. Very different. My head is a point of base. My elbows are a point of base. Everything is, I'm good here. When the time comes and I feel like I want my submission, I just bring my knees to my elbow. My head stays here at the point of base. Okay? Now my knees are to my elbow. I'm over his head. I can go ahead and keep his hands to the floor. Wrap an arm, choke, arm locks, whatever. They come. As he starts to push, they come. Okay? So all this is all submission. Okay? Primary mount, dominant mount is high mount. Your entire body should be ball over this, and your feet should be like monkey hands holding his hips and waist so that he can't get his leg weight on top of your legs. Doing that, doing great. And in a gi, there's a lot of different submissions and chokes, amazing stuff you can do in the gi. Final thing, before you guys practice with this and move on to the bottom mount, final thing to remember when we're doing our separation. I don't want to mount, if I mount and I feel his elbows are here and I'm sitting here and he bucks, remember to keep your hands in front of your head. You're going to sit up so that when he does do his bridge, go ahead, my head comes back. It's like riding a horse. My head comes back, bridge. And every time he bridges, guess what he's doing? He's taking me closer to here. Okay? So if you want to, if you feel comfortable enough that you're like, ah, shit, this guy's really strong. I can't get all his elbows up, but I can get here. And I can kind of lock in and get my mount here. But he starts to push, and you feel like you want to sit up. This is giving you, here, boom. It's telling me where to go. Okay? Once I'm here, the game is over for him. You don't necessarily have to twist and do a cool, crazy arm bar. Just take his wrist, sit over him. Just that simple, okay? So, mess with the high mount. You can mess with the low mount, getting bucked, head back. Mess with taking the arms and disconnecting them from the body so you have nothing to worry about in your mount. Sit there as long as you want. Let the guy struggle until he can't deal with you anymore. So we pass, we get our head over his head, our chest over his chest. We start to separate. I feel at his head, remember, over his head. I see his arm, I kick through, pick it up, boom. I wrap him up. I go for my stretch mount. I'm mounted. Right away, I go to my high mount. See how fast it happens? A little bit. Right away, I go to my high mount. One of the submissions you can play with. Take his hand, lock it in your knees here. Push. It's a smother tap. You can't breathe. Okay, so you can do that one. Or if you just have his arms here, bring his arms above his head. Okay, hold on to his hands or his wrists. Elbows wide, arms above his head, and try to get your chest over his mouth. And just stay there until you can't breathe, or reach in, pull his face to your chest until you can. Okay? So that way you don't have to worry about arm bars, losing position. You just mount and submit from smothering and from pressure. Okay? There's other ones like diaphragmatic pressure and all this, and I'm not getting into all that. Just keep in mind the principles of me chasing the butt, head over his head, chest over his chest, flat. I've got his arms disconnected from his body. I'm ready to mount. I'm keeping his hips flat by stretching him like this. And when I finally mount, now I'm also keeping his hips flat by curving my back. So when my head's over his head, I'm curving my back. If my feet go under him, I'm curving my back. And I'm either keeping his hips flat this way, or I'm making sure that my feet are high and my base is wide. Okay? Never connect tight, because if he rolls, you're going with him. If he starts turning, great. I want to move with him. I never want to be back mount, which is something I hope we have time to go over today. I never want to be back mount on my back. Back mount on my sides, okay. Back mount on top of him, the best. The best. Go for the best. So if you're going to give some pressure and relieve, go like that, flip it. Give him some pressure and relieve. Look where he's going to go. He's going to turn. With my elbow. Hit the gift wrap. Where we are. Boom. Now, when he does his buck, okay, you're here, and he does his buck to try to get you to the side or whatever. Your head comes back. Look how he goes to the side. It's every time. That's what you're supposed to do. He's supposed to be doing this, but not when I'm helping his arm get out of the way. Not like this, like this. So when he goes to bridge, and he's going to push off my hips and butt. Go ahead. Boom. Guy, help him. Come over. Take his arm. Pull it in. Everything in. Chest in. Over. Look at how my heel helps to turn him over. Or I can bring my heel here. Wrap him up. Boom. Run down. Yeah. Okay? That's the back control you want. That's the Hickson control. Alright, so I wanted to get it all out on the plate. Now play with it. Take one thing from it, two things from it, play with it. Feel the power of it. And then we'll move on to the mama skate. Ready? 1, 2, 3.